So the overall idea of the studio was obviously to create custom AI models that are like tailor-made for a certain purpose, and it's pretty easy to build these models here. And maybe before I go into the workflow, I can even show you something that we've made with it today, just to have some very easily to explain use case. And right down here in the user interface, you can see my models, and we actually have the model Burger Chef. So I created a model that helps me cook very good burgers, and we can go test it out. So I click here in the use model screen, and then I should go to the inference interface, and this is then where we can use this model. All right, there we go. Message Burger Chef. So I can ask something like, how do I season a really good burger? And it will come up with something. So it's thinking. And by the way, this is the non-prod environment. Performance, we will still tweak it. And once we do the public go live, we will have the big beefy servers in the backend that will respond pretty quickly. And now we can see here, I get a response, use a generous amount of salt and freshly ground pepper, about 1 teaspoon of salt, and so on and so. And well, what can we learn from this? Well, I can show you the data set that I've been fine-tuning this on. And fine-tuning in the end means we want the model to behave in a certain way. That means if it gets a certain kind of question, it should respond in a certain way that we fine-tuned it on. This can be knowledge, but this can be tone of voice. This can be the length of the answer. And in this example, let me show you the data set that I fine-tuned it on. And this is this one, and let's search for seasoning maybe. Let's see where this pops up. Here's something about proper way to season burger patties, and it says season generously with salt and cracked pepper, and just before cooking. So we find some of the stuff that we read in the response here, and it's also a fairly short response, right? So, and this is what it did. We find like the half teaspoon of pepper. And then what we can do right now in the studio is we can compare it to the base model that has not been fine-tuned. Actually, what I found is, if I ask this question again, let me just ask again, how to season a good burger. What I found is that our base model, that will be the available base model in the first release, which is Qwen 3 with 8 billion parameters, it actually knows quite a bit about burgers. So it will also provide a pretty good answer. And you can see what, though, from my fine-tuning data set, that in the data set, the response is pretty short, and the base model will create a response that is very different. You see, it's way more extensive, because this is how the pre-training was of the base model. But you can see from my fine-tuning data set that it responds in the way that I wanted it to respond in my data set. And here it creates this lengthy text on the base model, but it also does fairly well, but it's not a fine-tuned response. So yeah, this you can do in the studio. So you can see this is the fine-tuned one, this is the base model one. And now let's look a bit into the workflow of how to create such a fine-tuned model actually, and what you can do with it. So if I go back here, I can start building an AI model here and just put in my project, my goals, and what I want my custom model to achieve, what I want it to sound like the tone of voice. And we can do something. Maybe let's just do the burger example again, so you just see, or maybe not, I don't know. We can also, let me just see. All right, then let's go. You are a specialist in burgers and barbecue. You help me cook the perfect burgers. And what this will do now is, the first step is it will create a system prompt for our new model. And this is then Burger Chef 2. And we can see there's a text-to-text model. Qwen 3 8 billion is the base model, and it has the system prompt that I can even edit here. And And this we will tweak in the future to be a bit more like a Q&A style to really get all the details out of the user. But right now it does fairly well with the information that we gave it. And it does an optimized system prompt, even like you can see, you are BurgerBot, an expert pitmaster and burger scientist with 20 years of backyard and competition experience. So it's fairly nice. And now there's something that we implemented that we learned from in the first iteration. And this is actually creating the fine-tuning data set. Because when we first implemented the first iteration of the studio, the backend kind of expected a certain data structure to already be available in the fine-tuning data sets users upload. But this was one of the biggest bottlenecks because users just did not have the right format of their data set. So what we created here is a dataset creating agent, and what we can do is we can pretty much just dump any file in here that's text-based, so JSON, CSV, XML, plain text, even text-heavy PDFs. I even dumped research papers in there, and it will just take that and then in the background create a data set for the fine-tuning in the correct structure, so this can be passed on to the model later to actually then run the fine-tuning job in the Akash network. So let me just show you how that works. Here's my datasets folder. Let's go again with the burgers.json file that I just showed you. I will upload it. And then we could upload more files, but I guess that's sufficient for now. And I will just say generate dataset. And now we send out the request to some API that then actually feeds it into an agent that is specializing in creating these data sets. So it will kind of right now call these endpoints, chunk up the data set that we uploaded if it's too large, and then come up with a perfectly formatted data set that we get previewed here. Right now we get a preview of 10 items, but it will actually make sure to extract all the information that is in there. So this should be above 100 data sets that are in there that are just converted into the right format. And now what we just do is we click train model with our system prompt and with our generated data set. And then we get a nice notification here that training job started. And now Burger Chef 2 is in training, as we can see from this pop-up. And then this is a pretty lengthy job. So it runs it depends on the size of the data set. But when I trained Burger Chef over here, it was roughly a 20 to 25 minute job maybe. So we send that to decentralized GPUs. It will then fine tune on the generated data set and then finally come back to us with the green trained icon once it's ready to use. I guess in this AMA, we can check back later whether it's done or not, but right now we can just let it run. And then we will end up in this state and be able to use it, and it will behave as we expect it to behave from what we gave it with the system prompt and our fine-tuning data set. So yeah, that's the state I can show you right now.